on, everybody? Good morning. It is Friday, May 22nd, 2020, 11:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. It's Friday. This is episode 59 of McRae Live. Episode 59 of McRae Live. My goodness, we are already up to 59 episodes. I'm rocking my, got here my Skeletor shirt today. I'm a big fan of Skeletor. He-Man, you boob. I love when they always call He-Man a boob. You can't do that today. No, you couldn't do that today. You couldn't call, your villain couldn't call the good guy in a cartoon today a boob. It's too bad. What the hell is the world coming to? Today, I want to talk about my top five. Okay, they can be very different from your top five. It's so funny. When I started doing this YouTube thing on the regular, you know, I didn't think that, you know, I didn't think you had to sort of explain that. And early on when I started doing, you know, when I started to put my face out there more, because like I always say, I've had this channel since 2006. I've had this channel for 14 years, but I only started to do this kind of thing a couple of years ago, right? Anyway, so I forget what I was doing, but I was talking about something, giving a list or something like that. And so, you know, people are like, that's not right. What do you mean it's not right? These are my top five. These are my top five favorite. I mean, they might differ, you know, from yours. That's okay. That's all right. I always just think that's kind of funny. So yeah, these are my top five Kurt Russell movies. Kurt Russell. Who doesn't like some Kurt Russell? Come on. There's always room for Kurt Russell. And you know, it's funny. I wouldn't. I don't know if I would think of this off the top of my head if somebody were to ask me, who are some of your favorite actors? But if I think of Kurt Russell, I go, my God, he is one of my favorite actors. Absolutely. He's my sister, Jill. Jill, if you're watching, hello. Jill had a huge crush on Kurt Russell. Probably still does. He looks pretty good for his age, you know. He's, what is he, 69 now, I think? I think he's 69. He's up there, but he looks pretty good. He's still dashing. I think he's in the middle of shooting The Christmas Chronicles Part 2, I think. I watched that movie, by the way. Not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before. I actually thought it was all right. And I thought that was a cute little cameo at the end from Goldie Hawn as Mrs. Claus. I thought that was kind of cute. So yeah, I actually almost met Kurt Russell. This is my Kurt Russell story. I've told this before, but it bears repeating because obviously this is the main topic of the show. The very first time I was nominated for the Voice Arts Awards. And for those of you that don't know what that is, the Voice Arts Awards are essentially like, you know, the Oscars, but for voiceover. And they're held annually at Warner Brothers Studios in Hollywood. And I've been nominated 4 times. 3 times for Best National Television Promo and once for my body of work, which is, I mean, that's like being nominated for Best Picture. You know what I mean? Like I was so, you know, humbled and honored. You know what I mean? I didn't win. I haven't won yet. I'm a 4-time nominee, 0-time winner. But you know what? There's still time. I'm still young. Although I'm almost 41. God, I can't believe it. So anyway, the first time I was nominated, which was 2015, my girlfriend and I obviously fly to LA. It was her first time there. I'd been to Hollywood about 10 years prior. But anyway, so we're there and we do the whole. Once you get nominated a couple of times, you don't necessarily do this, but because it was my first nomination, I decided to go all out. You know, so when we get to the airport, I have a driver pick us up. I think his name was Arsin. Arsin, I think is his name. I think I still have his number in my phone. I should probably look. Really, really nice guy. Used to be Leonardo DiCaprio's driver. I mean, that's amazing. He would tell us stories about like Justin Bieber and what's her face. What the hell was that? What the hell was Bieber's little girlfriend there a while back? Not the woman he's married to now, but the one, Gomez? Is it Selena Gomez? Is that her name? I think that's her name. Selena Gomez. Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks, Frank. Anyway, he would tell me all sorts of stories about them, like, you know, being cute with each other in the back. And he was like, oh, fuck it. Really cool. Like, and it's not like I picked this guy. He was just the guy that showed up. And when we were coming down the escalator at LAX, I see this sign it was weird. It was the first time I'd ever had that. A sign says, you know, Dave McRae on it, right? And I'm like, oh, I guess that's our guy. So he drove us, and we stayed at the Roosevelt Hotel on Hollywood Boulevard. And it was just because it was your first time, right? And you really sort of splurge your first time. I've been nominated 4 times now, so the last time you don't splurge as much because you know what to expect. The novelty's worn off just a little bit, but it never really wears off because it's still really cool and really an honor to be walking the back lot of Warner Brothers because you're there because you've been nominated for an award. You know what I mean? I mean, that's really, really cool, right? But in terms of like, you know, going all out, you're kind of like, okay, I know what to expect. I don't need to do this, you know? So, but it was fun. So anyway, so we're staying at the Roosevelt, right? And the night of the award show, it was the night of the award show. Was it? Yes, I think it was. Yes, I think it was because I was in my suit and my girlfriend was in her dress and we're coming down these stairs and to go out to where our driver would be to pick us up, take us over. And as we're walking down the steps, there's people behind us. Like, you know how, you know, you're walking on stairs in a hotel or something and there's people behind, you know, there's people everywhere, right? It's the Roosevelt Hotel, Hollywood Boulevard. By the way, the Roosevelt Hotel is where the first Academy Awards were held in 1927, I believe. Very historic hotel. Some people say it's haunted. I didn't see any ghosts. So anyway, we're walking down and I hear I know there's people behind me, walking behind me, talking. And the voice sounds really familiar. Really familiar. Like I know this voice. And I knew instantly after about 3 seconds of compartmentalizing that thought that it was Kurt Russell's voice. Now, I don't think he was staying at the Roosevelt. I don't think he would need to. He probably has a home in LA. But he was there for whatever reason, picking somebody up, stopping by, I don't know. So we get to the bottom and we move over to the side because I walked that way because I wanted to let those people pass to see if I was right. And sure enough, I was right. It was Kurt Russell and he was with some older gentleman. I don't know who that was, if it was his dad or Goldie Hawn's dad, or I have no idea. Are their parents alive still? I have no idea, but it was an older guy and a young boy, a very young boy, like 8 or 9, no, like maybe 5 or 6 or something. And they walk out to where their Suburbans pull up, you know, pick them up. I don't know where the hell they were going, but they were decked to the nines. I mean, he was in a tuxedo. Some people say maybe he was going to the Voice Arts Awards. I'm like, nah, I don't think he was going to the Voice. I didn't see him there. So he definitely, he wasn't there because I didn't see him there. And I don't think he was, you know, nominated for anything. So who knows what was going on that night? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that go on in Hollywood. So anyway, you know, some people say, well, why didn't you go over and say hi? And I'm like, well, if he was at the Voice Arts Awards, I would have done that. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the environment for, I'm there, he's there, we're there, not together, but it makes sense. You know, it doesn't seem as fanboyish to me if that was the case. But that wasn't the case. He's there at the hotel waiting for his Suburban to pull up, wherever the hell he's going. Somewhere dashing, I'm assuming, to be in a tuxedo himself. And so I just didn't want to be that guy. And he's talking to whoever this older guy is. And I didn't want to be that guy to go over and be like, you know, hey, Kurt Russell, hi, how are you? Yeah, big fan. I just didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? So what I did is I took out my phone and I snapped a photo. It's a terrible photo. But it wasn't for me. It was for my sister Jill, because all I could think of was really my sister Jill. Listen, I like Kurt Russell. I do. And admittedly, now that I think about it, he's probably one of my favorite actors, 100%. But I'm not like, you know, I couldn't, the picture wasn't for me. It was for Jill, my sister, because I wanted to send it to her right then and there and be like, hey, look who I ran into. I mean, that would be like, you know, running into Harrison Ford and thinking of me. You'd be like, oh my God, I got to text this today. You know what I mean? That's what it was like for my sister Jill. You know, she had a huge crush on Kurt Russell way back in the day. So anyways, I took this photo, terrible photo. You could hardly tell it's him. It was him though. And I sent it to her and I'm like, guess who I sort of ran into? And she was like, oh my God, who? And it was such a bad photo that she couldn't tell who it was from the photo. Cause it's, he's from behind and, he's looking kind of the side. You couldn't really tell. And I'm like, it's Kurt Russell. And she's like, oh my, yeah. Now. And then you can kind of see it, when you tell somebody, but it was bad. But yeah, so anyway, so then this Suburban pulls up. They get in, whoever this older guy is, bald, with these kids. And I didn't see Goldie Hawn. She wasn't there. I mean, she might have been there, but I didn't see her. Maybe she was in the Suburban that pulled up. I don't know. But it looked like it was just him. And I'd have to go back. I might be able to figure this out, actually. If I go back to Sunday, November, whatever it was, of 2015, because this is 2015, and maybe I can figure out what other galas or events are happening in Hollywood that night. I actually might be able to figure out maybe where he was going. Yeah. I might actually be able to do that. Anyway, so he gets in his, Suburban, takes off, And then what's really cool is our Suburban pulls up right behind him. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh, we're next. Going to two completely different places, two completely different things. But I thought it just kind of coincidentally worked out that way. That's my Kurt Russell, close to meeting Kurt Russell story. But I didn't go over because I just didn't want to be not there. You know what I mean? If he was just kind of sitting on the lobby couch or something, just sitting there playing on his phone, maybe I would have done it because it felt maybe that was an opportunistic time. But he's standing there outside, you got all the doormen out there and he's talking to this older guy, seems to be in really deep conversation. There's kids running around. I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm good. This is a cool little, story I get to share with people. So anyway, I'm a big Kurt Russell fan. Who isn't a big Kurt Russell fan at the end of the day? And I wanted to give my top 5 favorite Kurt Russell movies. My top 5 favorite Kurt Russell movies. These will probably differ from your top 5 favorite Kurt Russell movies. There we go. There we go. My pens are falling apart here. Don't know what happened there. Anyway, yeah, so my top 5 favorite Kurt Russell movies. And I also have 2 honorable mentions down there. Honorable mentions are the excuse to just add more to the list, right? And like I always say when I do top 5s, the reason why I like to do top 5s, and I won't always do top 5s, because sometimes it's literally impossible to do a top 5. Like, to do a top 5 like Spielberg? My God, that'd be so difficult. You'd have to do like a top 10. Although I guess the top 5 of your top 10 is your top 5. If you think about it in some kind of, funny way. Anyway, I like to do top 5s because they really make you think, you have to be really decisive. Kurt Russell, I don't think has... he's got a solid filmography, but he's certainly, it's not like a lot of his, I wouldn't say that most of his movies, I wouldn't say are great. You know what I mean? It's not like we have a Tom Hanks here or something like that, but he's certainly, it's Kurt Russell for fuck's sakes, right? But I like to do top 5s because it makes you think, it makes you be more decisive. It's harder to do. And therefore I find, I don't know about you, but I find I tend to put my bias aside and not just pick not just what my favorites are, but what are just, good movies, right? But these are my top Kurt Russell films. So number 5 for me, ladies and gentlemen, there might even be a couple on here that you totally forgot about. For me, number 5 is Big Trouble in Little China. That would be my number 5. Big Trouble in Little China, directed by John Carpenter. I think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was in talks to remake this movie, if I'm not mistaken. But that would be my number 5. Who doesn't like this movie? John Carpenter, 1986, I believe. I think this might have been, I stand to be corrected, but I think this might have been one of Carpenter's last studio movies, if I'm not mistaken. It's a fun movie. I watched it again recently about a year or so ago, and it's a little dated, like a lot of 80s movies are. I mean, some 80s movies are dated more than others, and there's a variety of reasons for that would just be way too long to get into here. But certainly, it's fun. It's fun. I don't know if I liked it as much as I liked it when I was a kid. Like, when I was a kid, I liked it a lot because there was that, Indiana Jones-ish adventure-ness, swashbuckling-ness to it, mixed in with kung fu and special effects. As a kid, it's like you're just enamored with all that. I watch it today as a 40-year-old man. I'm like, it's fun. It's fine. You know what I mean? But I certainly wouldn't say it's my favorite Kurt Russell movie. But definitely it's one that if it's on TV, I'll sit and watch it. I own it. I own a couple copies of it actually. And who doesn't like Big Trouble in Little China? You know what I mean? I like that. My number four is, and again, these are my favorites. These are my top five. I would say, number four is The Thing. Number four is The Thing, where his last name, or his first name actually, is almost my last name, which is hilarious. His first name is McCready, right? Or McCready? Yeah, McRae. But it's spelled Macready. My last name is just Mcrae. I always thought that was kind of funny when I was a kid. It's like, oh, it's kind of like my last name almost, but not. The Thing. I mean, who does another John Carpenter film? Obviously he has a very long-standing relationship with Kurt Russell. We know this. Who doesn't love The Thing? 1982. If E.T. hadn't come out the same year very shortly before, The Thing may have done better because it's a good movie. And it's probably arguably, you could make the argument it's John Carpenter's best movie. Certainly, I think it was his first venture into the studio system, making a studio picture. And it wasn't easy. And it turned out really well. It didn't do very well in 1982. It got steamrolled by E.T. People wanted something more, hopeful and that kind of thing. But The Thing is definitely, for me, has to be on the list. I mean, it's a cult classic, and it's, I think in retrospect, a lot of, cinephiles and filmmakers and fans have gone back and looked at The Thing, very much like in some ways they've looked at Blade Runner and been like, this is a good movie. It didn't do well in 82. It didn't do well, well when it came out. And there's always a variety of reasons why a movie may not do well. It's ahead of its time. It's just the pop culture climate, wasn't because of other films that were coming out. And there's a variety of, and sometimes it is just because it's a dog fucking shit show of a movie. That is often why movies fail, because they are garbage. Actually, most of the time, it's because they're garbage. But every now and then, a movie fails commercially that actually is pretty good. And there's, you can actually measure the reasons of why that probably is. And I think The Thing is one of those movies. The Thing's a great movie. And I believe the ambiguity of the ending of The Thing is something that I love. And people have asked me, do you think either of them have it? And my answer is no. I don't think either of them have it. But you're never supposed to know. And neither of them may never know. They may live however long in this indefinite state of skepticism against each other, which drives both of them mad and insane. You see, that's the genius of it. That's the genius of the ending, where you're not sure if you might be leaning towards one or the other, but it's never concretely told to you. And then you walk away and you think things like, well, if they don't know, if I don't know and they don't know, but they're going to live in this, for however long, world of skepticism and afraid of each other, which is going to curve their decisions, going to curve their behavior and how they act, not just in the environment, but to each other, and may draw, it thrusts them into a world of insanity where they eventually just probably end up killing each other. I mean, that's the genius of that ending, Now, if you talk to John Carpenter, and maybe there is an interview where he says this, I don't know. Maybe in his own mind, he might have an idea, but you're never supposed to know. That's why it works. The Thing is a fantastic movie. Number 4 on my list of my top 5 favorite Kurt Russell movies. Number 3 for me is a movie that you guys probably have totally fucking forgot about. And when I mention it to you, you'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot. I like this movie. Maybe it's a guilty pleasure, but I don't think it's a bad movie, actually. I saw it in the theater back in the mid-90s, and I really enjoyed it. It's a great mid-90s action movie. 1995, I believe, and that is Executive Decision. Executive Decision is my number 3. Do you guys remember that? Executive Decision? The one where, what's his face there was in the movie for all of 15 minutes. Steven Seagal, he was in the movie for 15 minutes. Who doesn't like Executive Decision? It is like great mid-90s, terrorism on a plane. I love it. Definitely one of my favorite Kurt Russell movies. See, people keep saying Steven Seagal, and the funny thing is that it was marketed like it was a Steven Seagal movie, or that he was a big part of it. It's not a Steven Seagal movie. It's not. He's in it for 10 minutes. It is a Kurt fucking Russell movie, and it's a great Kurt Russell movie. I like it anyway. I think it's fun. So I remember seeing it in the theater, and that was at a time too when, in 1995, I believe it was 95 when that movie came out, I was 16. And I remember that was when Dolby sound was really beginning to make their way into theaters. Now, this was before the movie theaters are what they are now. Now, movie theaters are state of the art with stadium seating, like you're at some kind of fucking baseball game. Well, it wasn't always like that. And of course, if I was really old, I could go back to the 50s and you were watching, movies in actual stage theater, big, gigantic, you know what I mean? Which is actually an amazing place to watch a movie, by the way. The acoustics are fucking phenomenal. But back in the 80s and the 90s, theaters were, what they were, if you're old enough to remember that. But they started before the Coliseum type movie theaters began to open like what we have now. They started to implement THX and Dolby Digital Sound. And I remember seeing the movie Congo with Laura Linney, I think. In 95, I think that was. And I remember sitting front row, and the sound, of course, now in a movie theater, the sound's probably even better. But, 25 years ago, as a 16-year-old kid, I'm sitting there in the theater, and, I was like, we never heard anything like this before. And there's a scene in Congo where, everybody's getting shot up and shit and everything. It's like all this stuff going. And I remember just sitting there, and the sound surrounded you. It was surround sound. It was the first time that movie theaters had surround sound. And it was such a cool, now, you kids don't know what the fuck you got, man. But, now, of course, it's just standard. It's state of the art. But back then, it was like, what the fuck? You mean I can hear the gunshots from behind me, too? It was incredible. So that was very much sort of the experience watching Executive Decision as well. But I like Executive Decision. I think it's a very good terrorist on a plane, terrorism plane, U.S. You know what I mean? It's pretty predictable, run of the mill, but I got to admit, I like it. I like it a lot. And it's fun. It's fun. Number 2 for me, my number two favorite Kurt Russell movie for me is Overboard. 1987, I think it was 87. Overboard, of course, starring him and his his common law wife, because they are actually not married. They've never been married. Maybe that's why they're so successful. Goldie Hawn. I love this movie. I adore this movie. I think this actually may have been one of my favorite. I'm trying to think. Was it I don't know. It couldn't have been the first Kurt Russell movie I saw, because I would have seen The Thing before. Oh, no, it might have been. It might have been the first Kurt Russell movie I saw. It might have been. And then, of course, that made me watch The Thing, Big Trouble in Little China. It might have been, even though it came out, 5 or 6 years later. But I love Overboard. I think it's just such a, I love the premise. It's so silly, and of course I'm talking about the original Overboard, folks, not the remake, I didn't even see the remake. I have no idea if it's any good or not, but I didn't see it. But certainly I think this is a cute, romantic comedy. I think the premise is funny. I think Goldie Hawn is brilliant in it. I think Kurt Russell is great in it. It's such a silly premise. It would never work in real life, but you suspend your disbelief and it's just cute. It's fun. And I love the little theme, the banjo or whatever it is playing the theme or whatever. I love that. Wait a minute, was Overboard, was that Rob Reiner or was that was it Gary Marshall? Overboard was 87. It couldn't have been Rob Reiner. Gary Marshall. It was Gary Marshall that directed it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Gary Marshall, right? Legend. But I love that movie. It's fun. It's fun. Like I said, the premise is silly, would never actually happen. There's no way. Like as soon as she found, there's no way. But I get it. In the movie world, it works, and it is my number 2. It's my number 2. My number 1 favorite Kurt Russell movie of all time. This is no surprise to most of you, not because you're geniuses, but because I've mentioned it 3,721 times on this channel before. So pat yourselves on the back because you were paying attention. My number 1 favorite Kurt Russell movie, my favorite Kurt Russell movie. I'm not necessarily saying it's the best if you were to, measure it against some better, maybe, performances, but you gotta admit, it's a fucking hell of a performance. I love this movie. It's a hell of a movie, I think. Breakdown. Oh, yeah. Breakdown. 97, I think. Was it 97 or 98? And I love this movie. This is absolutely, unequivocally, my favorite Kurt Russell movie. I love this movie. And it's just the idea of, and I think his performance in it is fantastic. I mean, I'm not saying he's, Daniel Day-Lewis. I'm not saying it's like Academy Award winning. I totally believe he is somebody that is desperate to find his wife. Totally believe it. The shock and the paranoia that begins to seep in and on his face, and it's insidious, right? Like it's not like he's losing his fucking mind right away. He goes to the little diner and he walks in and he even takes off, his sunglasses, looks around and goes, okay. And he walks over and goes, hey, just wondering if you saw my wife. He seems kind of normal. And then when everybody's like, nope, nobody came in here. And then he starts to realize, wait a minute. I don't know where my wife is. Like it's so, and then of course when the cop played by JT Walsh, I think his name is, of course, who sadly passed away not too long after this movie was made, actually. Breakdown was 97. And it starred also J.T. Walsh. That's right. He was a great character actor. Yeah, he died in 1998. He died February 27th, 98 at the age of 54. J.T. Walsh, who was the main antagonist in Breakdown. And so I mean, and then when, he pulls the truck over, he's like, hey, get over. And the guy's like, sir, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen you before in my life. It's like, and the way Kurt Russell's like, hey, what are you doing? Like, what the fuck are you doing? What do you mean you do? Like, dude, come on. Then it's like, can you imagine? First of all, I would never let my girlfriend hop into a truck with a stranger and drive down to a diner down the street alone. I would never do that. I think most of us would probably never do it. So that is the only thing about the movie that I go, would you really do that? Now, of course, you have to suspend your disbelief. Oh, he seems like a nice trucker. Oh, I'll just take you down here. And okay, sure, I don't know. I would never do that. Out in the middle of the fucking desert, in the middle of nowhere, I wouldn't. It's the only thing about that movie that makes me go, I don't know. You know what I mean? But once you go, okay, all right. I mean, the movie's gold. The movie's gold. It's great action, a great car chase at the end of the movie. You know what I mean? I love. It's a great redemption film when he goes into the house there, the farmhouse, and he's got the gun, and he walks up, and he opens the door, and they're all at the table there, and he's like, I forget what he says, but he's really like, where the fuck is, and he's like, you shut the fuck up. Like, oh my God. Like, I love it. Oh yeah. Breakdown. If you guys have not seen 1997's Breakdown, starring Kurt Russell, you've got to watch it. You'll thank me for it. It's a great movie. Now, when I say great movie, I'm not saying it's The Empire Strikes Back, The Shawshank Redemption, and The Green Mile rolled into one. I'm talking about for what it is, for its genre, for the type of movie it is. As a Kurt Russell movie, it's a great movie. It's a great action thriller. And I think you guys will like it if you haven't seen it. So that is my number one. It's my favorite Kurt Russell movie. Looking at the list here, you probably could interchange Executive Decision and The Thing. Like, I could totally put Executive Decision at number 4 and put The Thing at 3. So those things, like here on my list, I have The Thing at 4 and Executive Decision at 3. But I can interchange those for sure. But I love Executive Decision. It's a guilty pleasure. I think it's fun. So those are my top 5. So my number 5 is Big Trouble in Little China. My number 4 is The Thing or Executive Decision, maybe depending on how I feel on the day. And then my number 3 would be Executive Decision or The Thing, depending on how I feel on the day. You can switch those out. My number 2 is Overboard. And my number 1 is Breakdown. And then I have 2 honorable mentions. And those two honorable mentions, here's one you guys probably haven't heard of, or you haven't thought of in a long time. Unlawful Entry. Unlawful Entry is on my honorable mention. I really like that movie. I like that movie a lot. And again, it's one of those movies you're like, oh yeah, Ray Liotta was in that. And, oh, I forgot about that movie. It's like, I like that movie like I like The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Do you know what I mean? I like that movie like I like, Shattered, from the early 90s, or Sleeping with the Enemy, or something to that degree. Oh, I think my light over here went out. It did. My light went out over there. Oh, that's okay. Here, we'll do this. We'll switch camera views now because my light went out. I think the battery. Yeah, I think it was the battery. I forgot to charge that one. I charged this one up. Yeah, that one's all right, but I forgot to charge that one. So let's move to the other camera view. And let's do this. There we go. Should be more blue over here, but oh well. I'll have them all charged up. I think what I have to do is I have to charge the batteries before each show. I think that's what I have to do. So that's how I like Unlawful Entry. Oh, there you are. Forgot. Oh, I almost went on, but I didn't. That's how I like Unlawful Entry. It's like The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Like, I put it in the lump of those kind of early 90s. They almost feel like TV movies to some degree. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, and then my other honorable mention, how could you not throw it on here? Escape from New York. John Carpenter's Escape from New York. Some people are going to have it in their top 5. I don't know. I like the movie, I do, but I think I like the others. I would probably watch the other movies over Escape from New York, right? And so those are honorable mentions. I know some people might say, but what about Tango and Cash? And I'm like, well, that is a Kurt Russell movie, but it's just as much a Sylvester Stallone movie as it is a Kurt Russell movie. So I don't really see it as a Kurt Russell movie. Like, I try to think of movies that are, and I know you could say, well, what about Overboard? That's just as much a Goldie Hawn movie as, yeah, I know, but Kurt Russell seems to be the main sort of, he's the one that's driving the story. He's the one that's caused the whole thing. And he's the central sort of figure. And then Goldie Hawn's character is sort of the, experiencing the fallout out of all this. So that's why I think it kind of feels more like it definitely is both of them, but that's why I put Overboard on here. But you can throw Tango and Cash on there, and that's a guilty. I'd watch Executive Decision, I think, over Tango and Cash. Maybe. Depends how I feel. Yeah, Tango and Cash. They should do one now. Call it like, I don't know, arthritis and pain. I don't know. So yeah, those are my top 5 with a couple of honorable mentions. Hey, if you're watching the show after the fact, comment below and let me know what your top 5 favorite Kurt Russell movies are. Really cool stuff. I know some super chats came in here. Let me go over to the super chats, a couple of them. Andrew L sends a super chat, says, I was literally going to ask you to do a show on Breakdown, which I'm guessing is your number 1. Well, you guessed correctly, my man. Intel Wild sends in a super chat, says, Dave, I think it would be great on the days you have McRae live. You can do a late night show called It's More with McRae Live. More, your thoughts. Intel Wild. You're desperate for more McRae Live. No, I will not be doing that. Buddy. I can't do that. I got a life, man. I got other things I got to do. I can't do that. That's just way too much, my man. Blu-ray Addict says, Dave, did you like The Hateful Eight and Death Proof? Never seen The Hateful Eight. Death Proof, I enjoyed that. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I actually did I did a promo spot for Grindhouse and Death Proof. I have it. I think I've showed it on this channel before. When Grindhouse, it was for Grindhouse, actually. Well, Grindhouse is the name of what you would go to see all these types of movies. But it was it's on my channel, I think. If you type Dave McRae Grindhouse, it might pop up. I'm not sure. Anyway, so that's I have not seen Hateful Eight, but I did see Death Proof. Tombstone, yeah. No Tombstone? No fucking Tombstone. My favorite, bitches! My favorite! I gather Tombstone would be one of your favorites. That's awesome. Tombstone's great. Mr. No Name says, now we got to get Dave to watch Hateful Eight. I'm not a big Tarantino. Like, I like Tarantino, but he's an acquired taste for me. You know what I mean? Like, I saw Inglourious Bastards, and I was like, I saw it once, never saw it again. Couldn't care less if I ever see it again. You know what I mean? This will really knock your socks off. Watch Pulp Fiction. Thought it was, it's fine. Couldn't care less if I ever saw it again. You know what I mean? But then there are some other Tarantino films, like Kill Bill, and Kill Bill Volume 2, although Kill Bill 1 is much better than Volume 2, I really like, and I've seen multiple times, you know, or I would probably watch, let me see. Yeah, I like Tarantino as a film. He's very talented guy, but I'm just, there's a lot of his movies that I'm like, it's fine, it's fine. It's good. I enjoyed that. That was good. But I don't find that, for me, a lot of his movies have a lot of rewatch value. They're eclectic and eccentric and acquired, and I'm just like, I've seen it. That's nice. I enjoyed that. That was good. But it's not one you pop in. It's at least for me, it's not one. Hey, I'm kind of bored. I'm just gonna pop in Inglourious Bastards. But a lot of people would. I'm not that kind of guy. Nick Townsend says Jackie Brown. I didn't mind Jackie Brown. Yeah, that was what, 97, 98, somewhere around there, I think. I didn't mind that. Josh John says Miracle Dave. Yeah, Miracle, that's right. That's a good Kurt Russell movie too. Really like that movie. Yep. Dick Payne says Tango and Cash. We're just talking about that. Not on my list though. Make your own list, guys. Comment below in the section to make your own list. Mr. No Name says, hey, I'd watch at least once. I'd watch it at least once, bud. It's on Netflix. Maybe I'll get to it. Maybe I won't. It's up to me. It's up to me. But Dave, you don't know what you're missing. No, I know what I'm missing. I know. I guarantee you I'll watch Hateful Eight and go, yeah, it's fine. Guarantee you. Because I know the man's style. I've seen the trailers. I've seen clips. I've seen people who've seen it. I know what it's about. I will watch that movie and go, yeah, it's good. It's fine. And probably never care to watch it again. It's nothing personal to Tarantino. There's like, I really liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I like Kill Bill. I liked Jackie Brown. But I just find that, but he's hit and miss with me. Didn't care for Inglourious Bastards. Hateful Eight, I saw the trailer and I was like, Django Unchained. I'm like, I watched that and I was like, DiCaprio's great. I always like watching DiCaprio. You know what I mean? It was great. I think I like Django Unchained better than Inglourious Bastards. So I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things, right? One of those things. I don't hate Tarantino films. I just find that he's hit and miss with me. Robert Thidoff says, Dave, have you ever seen The Forgotten One from 1989? It stars Terry O'Quinn. Loki from Lost and the original 1987 Stepfather. Good old-fashioned ghost story that you and Tony should do for Two Dudes. Never heard of it. Have to check it out, see if I like it, see if it sort of stirs something in me that maybe we'll want to do it. Intel Wild sends a super chat, says, the Elvis TV show is pretty good. Yes. Oh, the one from 1979, directed by John Carpenter. It is. I didn't mind it. Trivia, in Forrest Gump, when Forrest Gump stumbles upon Elvis, the voice you hear is Kurt Russell doing the imitation of Elvis, which is kind of cool. Kind of cool, kind of fun. Let me see. Michael King says, Bone Tomahawk is definitely my top 3 with The Thing and Big Trouble. Bone Tomahawk. Yeah, Bone Tomahawk. Jesus, that's something I haven't seen in a long time. Just going back over here, making sure I didn't miss any super chats. There were a couple that came in. Let me go back. Why didn't they show up? Frank Reiger says, Dave, did your dad like Kurt's portrayal as Elvis? You know what? I don't know if he even saw it. I'm not entirely sure. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if he saw it. Until Wild. So I got that one. And then was there one before that? No. Okay. So I think we're caught up. With the SCs, the super chats. Art Vandalay says, Dave, the great, have you seen Room from 2015? I saw it last night. It's already one of my favorites. No, but I want to see it. I actually was going to see it or going to watch it like a few months ago. And then I didn't for some reason. We were going to sit down and watch it and I didn't see it. Jason Dyke says, Kurt Russell is the best Santa ever. I liked it. I got to admit, I kind of liked, it was cute, fun. It was what it was. The Christmas Chronicles. Machete Slasher says, Dave, hello, how are you doing? Wanted to say I had a weird dream where I met you in person. And I have a question. Where do I get a light like the blue one you got? Also, happy early birthday. Thank you so much. That's so funny. Was that the question you wanted to ask me in your dream? The lights I got are just, they are called, where is it here? I just got them off of Amazon, and this is what the manual or the instruction booklet looks like. Okay. And, it is GVM, and GVM stands for Great Video Maker. I would never have called it Great Video Maker. It just sounds so chintzy and cheap and cheesy. It sounds like something you'd see in the 80s or something. But that's what it's called. Anyway, and the light looks like this. This is what the light looks like that. Okay. And it's got, you can change it from all sorts of colors. So you can change the hue to whatever color you want, or you can have it just a plain white, and you can change the color temperature as well, and the brightness as well. So it's great. Yeah, it's really cool. Just YouTube GVM light or whatever, and there'll probably be a couple of videos on it. Now for me on Amazon, Amazon.ca, Canadian, it was about, I think, $86 per light Canadian. So American, if you're in the States, that might be, I don't know, 50 something, 60 something bucks, maybe something like that, per light. So I have one over there, which went out on me just about 5 minutes ago, I guess, because the battery was low. I forgot to charge that battery. And the one over there is the same kind. So I have two. So yeah, just go to Amazon and type in GVM light or, whatever, and it should pop up. And it looks like that. Frank Reicher sends a super chat, says, Dave, since Kurt survived the child star curse, what was it that made him leap over those hurdles? That's a good question, Frank. I don't know. Look, he's a talented actor. It was a different era as well. Not as many distractions, not as many poor influences. Not that there haven't always been bad and poor influences in Hollywood. There are. There always have been. There always will be. But certainly in today's age, where everything is just so hyper sensitive and hyper, in your face with everything, it's just, all the shit that's out there, and people trying to take advantage of you, and the money that's at stake, and I think it's more difficult today than ever, not just to break into the industry, but also to stay there and to certainly make the transition from child star to adult star. That's extremely difficult. I think it was easier many years ago. Not saying it was easy, but certainly easier. Okay, easier in the sense that I think of course, it's always been there. It's always been there. It's always relative too. Every generation has their, I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, he's talented, but so was Dakota Fanning, and so was Elijah Wood, and so was, Macaulay Culkin, and not that Elijah Wood hasn't had a career. I mean, certainly he's continued to do these little B movies that he does, and Dakota Fanning was just had a, small role in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but certainly Dakota Fanning, Elijah Wood, and Macaulay Culkin haven't reached Kurt Russell level of, I mean, they're not leading men and women, right? So it's, they themselves have become sort of character actors, which a lot of kids tend to do. Oh, my stream said I was having a bit of trouble there, but it looks like we're okay. Hopefully we're okay. You might notice a bit of finickiness in the, you might notice a bit of lag in the stream, but it seems to be okay. I don't know. The decision, a lot of the times, I will say this, and I don't know what Kurt Russell's mom and dad were like. I'd have to read more about his history and his career, but certainly parental influences. I mean, we all know what happened with Lindsay Lohan's dad and, Macaulay Culkin's parents, you know what I mean? And a lot of the times, when you have shitty parents that are just using you to reap the financial benefits, it can cause so many problems. There's so many toxic relationships out there between children and their parents in the world of entertainment. And, obviously, Kurt Russell was one of those, and he's not the only one, but he was one that was able to make the transition relatively seamlessly. Not that there weren't issues or problems or, ups and downs, but certainly he was able to, make a name for himself coming from, I think, the Mickey Mouse Club, right? I think that's where he started, or he was definitely doing stuff for Disney way back in the day. But what it was specifically, I don't know. There's a lot of variables, right, at play. I'd have to go read about his, admittedly, I don't know a lot about his upbringing in terms of his career choices and sort of who he met, who he surrounded himself with within the industry, because that's a big part of it too. I mean, who you surround yourself within the industry can also play a huge role. So I don't know who was in his circle, what sort of influences he had. Obviously, John Carpenter and him developed a relationship and had a very strong relationship there too. So obviously that was a positive influence. Obviously, he was already older by that time, but yeah, I'll have to look more into it. But you're right, he did do it. And successfully, but there's there are others that did it, successfully too. But boy, when they crash hard. It's so sad in a lot of ways. Billy Van sends a super chat, says, Dave, you already know one of my favorite Kurt films. Elvis, of course. Of course. Keep up the great work on the channel. Great community you've got here. Well, thank you so much, Billy. Really, really appreciate it, man. And thanks for your continued support over on Patreon as well. Really appreciate it. I think you're a patron, right? I think that's you. Thanks so much, man. Super Saiyan Ryu. I see a comment, and hopefully I'm saying that right, but I could be wrong. Dave, you have to wish your favorite Halloween character, Busta Rhymes, a happy belated birthday. It was on the 20th, and who's more popular? It can Drake Beeb. Who's more popular in Canada? Drake Beeb. Well, I did wish Busta Rhymes a happy birthday. If you follow me over on my Many Things Dave McRae Facebook page, this is the exact quote that I said on my Facebook page. I said, actually, let me get it here because I want to make sure I get the exact quote. You're right, it was Busta Rhymes' birthday. Oh, I was aware of it. And I said this. I said, Where are we here? There we... Wait a minute, where'd it go? I lost it. There we go. I said, it's Busta Rhymes' birthday today. Period. I don't give a shit. There you go. There it is, folks. It's Busta Rhymes' birthday today. And I don't give a shit. Andrew L. sends in a super chat of an Evil Dead related video. Yes, there's definitely a chance, Andrew. There's definitely a chance. It may be on the horizon for an episode of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. It may be on the horizon for an episode of Two Dudes and Some BS. Super chat from Intel Wild says, It Happened at the World's Fair, Elvis asks Russell, who was a young boy at the time, to kick him hard in the shin, for which Elvis pays him 25 cents. Yeah, is that from the movie? Because I haven't seen... What's that from? If that's from the Elvis TV movie, I haven't seen it in a long time, in years. I don't remember that. You're making a statement, not asking a question. So I'm not sure where, like, Elvis asks Russell, or are you just making something up? Intel, wow, man. Sorry, dude. I really appreciate you supporting the channel like that, but I'm a little confused on what you're saying. Now, you do have it in quotes, so that, it happened. You have It Happened at the World's Fair. Oh, It Happened at the World's Fair. Is that a movie? Is that a movie or a TV show? I don't know. I've never heard of it. Man. Just at me and just let me know what that is. Alexander Dirksen says, Dave, my top 10 Kurt Russell films. Dirksen's going hard into the paint. Says, Breakdown, Backdraft, Stargate. Backdraft's great too. Again, I don't have Backdraft on here because it's an ensemble, and you could say it's just as much as a William Baldwin movie as it is a Kurt Russell movie. You know what I mean? Although it is a Kurt Russell movie. I think it was William, right? I think that was the one that was in it. Anyway, Breakdown, Backdraft, Stargate, Soldier. I remember that one. Big Trouble in Little China, Tombstone, Executive Decision, Escape from New York, Tango and Cash, and The Thing. Well, you pretty much have all his best movies, I'd say. Intel Wild says it was an Elvis movie in the 60s. Kurt was in it. Oh, okay. Never heard of it, never seen it. Interesting. That's an Elvis movie I've never heard of. I'll have to check that out. Although, you know what's funny? I do remember that story. Now that you say that, I do remember that story now. Maybe my dad told it to me. My dad might have told it to me. Yeah, it might have been my father. Very interesting indeed. Reese Wilson sends in a super chat. Thank you, Reese. Hey, Dave. Jack Burton in Big Trouble in Little China has been my favorite, as it was a movie my father and I bonded over. Very cool, man. Very cool. Have you listened to the Carpenter and Russell audio commentaries? They are great. No, I haven't yet. I've been meaning to do that, man. I've been meaning to do that because that's something I definitely want to do because I've heard that they're fun. Anytime you get Carpenter and Kurt Russell doing an audio commentary, it's pretty fun because I've heard a couple of them. They're fun. Billy Van follows up with, yep, that's me on Patreon. Okay, cool. Also, happy 2-day early birthday. Buy yourself a Wonka bar. Thank you very much, buddy. Really appreciate that. Darren Sands going hard into the paint. Sends a super chat. Thank you, Darren. Really appreciate that, man. Says, Dave, you boob. Couldn't believe Skeletor said that. Just YouTubed it. He actually did. Why? Did it mean something else? Yes, Skeletor said he liked to call He-Man boobs. I don't know why. Of course, that would never fly today. It's unfortunate, really. I think again, I know that, like, when you look at sort of the casual lingo that is very apparent over in Britain or overseas, it can be very different than being over here, right? Like, I mean, I remember the first time that I found out that you guys called trucks lorries. And I was sitting there going, lorry? Lori's a name. That would be like me calling a truck Diana. Because Lori's a name. You know what I mean? Like, when I was a kid, I was like, Lori. You know, there are very big differences, as you know, in some of the things that, we say, right? Some of the quips or, whatever. And I guess calling somebody a boob is like calling them an idiot. You know what I mean? You're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot. You're a boob. But where that started, because we know what boobs are, and I don't know. You're a boob. You're an idiot. You're a moron. And I guess instead of having Skeletor say, "You're an idiot," "You're a moron, He-Man," it might be a little too much, so they say boob. You're a boob. It sounds a little, I don't know, it sounds softer maybe. Boobs are soft. But maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's what it was. But I always remember that as a kid because, of course, when you're a little boy, and you're watching that, you snicker, right? You boob. He said boob. It's just kind of, you're a kid and you're like, what the hell? But yeah, he said you boob. And I think he said it more than once. I don't think it was just once, Darren. I think he said it a couple of times. I think it was a couple of times he said boob. So clearly now I don't think, although, now, I mean, I haven't heard anybody call anybody a boob in years, but Skeletor is not the only one I've heard say that. There have been examples in my life where I've heard people say, "You're such a boob," or something like that, right? But it's not common. It's not a common, it's not like calling, like, it's not like you'd fly over here, to North America, which you've been, of course, many times, and you hear people go, "Oh, you're such a boob." It's not like that. It's just something that I guess maybe came and went like bell bottoms. You know what I mean? I don't know. Kind of funny, but yeah. Oh yeah, he said that. And my 5-year-old self was, let's see here. Gamer Luna 03 says, my birthday is tomorrow. And I just noticed yours is Sunday. You just noticed. Where'd you notice? Did somebody post it? Happy early birthday, Dave. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And happy early birthday to you as well. I hope you have a safe and awesome birthday tomorrow. And Darren Sand says, means the obvious in the UK. Oh, it means that here too. It means that here too. I'm getting schooled on boobs. Great. You see, Darren, you just don't know you come to the show, you don't know. You don't know what you're going to get. You see? I mean, now you can go tell your wife, yeah, honey, guess what? Check this clip out. Jonathan Nichols says, Dave, do you like From Dusk Till Dawn? Yeah, I don't mind that movie. Yes. Yeah, Tarantino's in that movie. Isn't that a Robert Rodriguez film? Or is Robert Rodriguez, is he in it or? No, it's Tarantino and, anyway, yes, I do like that movie. I haven't watched it in a while. 95, 96 maybe? Somewhere around there. Yeah, that's a good movie. I don't mind that movie. No, it was George Clooney and Tarantino, I think. If I'm not mistaken. Frank Riker says, thanks for the super chat, Frank. I'm settling this now. Boob is short for booby, the name of a bird, just like people calling each other a dodo. Oh, I didn't know that. Frank, how do you know that? That's some deep, like, I didn't know that. It's short for booby, the name of a bird, just like people call each other dodo. I didn't know that. You see, I've learned something new. I'm settling this now. I can't take watching people discuss this and not know what it means when clearly I know what it means. Do you know how many fucking times I've called people a booby in my life? Jeez, I'm settling this now, McRae. It's kind of what happened there. That's funny. Well, thanks, Frank. Really appreciate you coming to the rescue on that and settling it down. Really, really appreciate that. Let me see here. GG. Okay, let me go over to make sure we're not missing any super chats. No, Frank was the last one that came in, going hard into the paint and settling it once and for all. I'm offended. You should be, Frank. You should be. I gotta have that. On my soundboard. I gotta have, Dave, I'm offended. It's coming. It's definitely coming. Don't worry about that. EdRed77 says, Dave, what are some of your favorite sports movies? Oh, Field of Dreams. I even like that kids movie, The Rookie, which I thought was kind of fun. Mighty Ducks, of course, as a kid. But if you're talking more of adult themed, yeah, Field of Dreams. Moneyball I thought was pretty good. What the fuck? What's the one with, why am I drawing a blank on this? Why am I drawing a blank on it? The one with Al Pacino. I'm drawing a fucking blank on it. Saturday Night Lights, is that the one? Slapshot. Yeah, that's going way back. Slapshot, yeah. Any Given Sunday, that's it. Thank you. Any Given Sunday. For some reason I was thinking it was the other one or whatever. Yeah, I like that one. That's a good one. Miracle, of course, with Kurt Russell. We're just talking about Kurt Russell. Miracle's a good movie. That's a good movie. I like that one. Chassis Smith says, Dave, my son turns 13 on the 27th, so he wanted me to wish you an early happy birthday. Well, thank you so much to your son, and same back to your son. Happy 27th to your son on the 13th. Happy 13th birthday to your son on the 27th. That's awesome. A lot of May babies. I'm telling you, there's a lot of May babies. A lot of May birthdays. There's a lot of May birthdays, folks. A lot of May birthdays. Gary Rangel says, Dave, do you like The Faculty? It has similar elements of John Carpenter's The Thing. It's a good movie. Oh, yeah, I love The Faculty. Yep. That's a decent, what was that, 2000? 99, 2000, something like that? Hey, Google, what year did The Faculty come out?
The Faculty was released on November 12,
2000.
1998.
No, 98. Wow, it was earlier than I thought. Oh, I'm thinking of Final Destination. That was 2000, right? Hey, Google, what year was Final Destination released? That's got to be 2000.
The release date of Final Destination is March 16th, 2000.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Faculty was 98. Yep. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Alexander Dirksen says, top 5 Kevin Costner. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I got to think about it. But maybe I'll do a McRae live on it. Maybe I will. I still want to do my top 5 John Candy movies, and I want to do my top 5 Loomis quotes. But again, that might not be a McRae live. I might put that over to a standalone video. Yeah, I might do that. I don't know. We'll see. Matthew Hatzamelia says, Dave, aside from The Mist, is there a movie... Hatzamilis, I think it is. Hatzamilis? Dave, aside from The Mist, is there a movie moment that shocked you? For me, surprisingly, was the chandelier fall from the original Phantom of the Opera. I just didn't expect it. A moment I didn't expect. A moment that shocked me. I don't know, because my go-to is always The Mist. I mean, that's one movie where I was genuinely surprised. I remember, I think my mouth was actually open. I remember watching the movie on DVD back in 2007 or 8. I'd rented it from the video store, and I'm sitting on my couch. This is, 12, 13 years ago. And when it came to that moment and you realize that they were this close to actually being saved, I remember, I think I went, like, I literally think I had a physical reaction, like on my face. And that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Art Vandalay, top 5 Carrie Elwes. I don't care about Carrie. I'm glad you do. It's like, to me, saying a top 5 Carrie Elwes is like saying, Dave, what about a top 5 David Schwimmer movies? I don't give a fuck about David Schwimmer. Look, Carrie Elwes, I get it. Saw, Princess Bride, I get it. But to me, that's all I care about, And Princess Bride, I haven't seen in probably since it came out. Wasn't one Princess Bride, Neverending Story, Labyrinth? Those were movies as kids or as a kid that I just never got into. I never got into it. I don't like The Princess Bride the way you guys like The Princess Bride. I like The Princess Bride, but I haven't seen it probably in like 30 years. I just don't care about it. It just wasn't a movie that resonated with me in the same ways that it resonated with most kids. And the same goes for The Neverending Story. The Neverending Story. I mean, you couldn't be a kid growing up in the early 80s and not know that theme song because every fucking kid was singing it at school. But I know I've seen the first one, but I probably haven't seen the first one in 35 years, probably since it came out. Because I think it came out in the early, like, 84 or 5 or something like that. I haven't seen any of the sequels. So it's just kind of funny what resonates with you as a kid, isn't it? I was a big He-Man fan, not really a big Transformers fan. I watched Transformers. It's fine. But I never had any of the toys. I loved He-Man. I was fucking obsessed with He-Man. I never really watched G.I. Joe, but I loved the toys. There's something that's weird. I would watch a couple of episodes of G.I. Joe. So I knew who the characters were, like who Cobra was. And, like I knew what was going on, sort of. But I did not watch G.I. Joe really, which is so strange. Like I watched it, but I didn't watch it, if you know what I mean, right? And I had like the bass and all the little toys and shit like that. It's funny what resonates with you as a kid, Fraggle Rock, there's another one. Love the theme to Fraggle Rock. Down in Fraggle Rock, it's great kid show, right? Didn't really watch it. Love the theme. Dun 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 dun. I mean, it's such a, yeah, like it, but I never really got into it in the ways a lot of kids did. But He-Man, but Ninja Turtles I did. That was towards the later half of the 80s. I think Ninja Turtles came out in 87, I think, the original cartoon. So I was 8. So I was still a good age, right? I was 8 in 87. I like the Ninja Turtles. My favorite was Michelangelo. I got obsessed with the Ninja Turtles the way I got obsessed with He-Man. I had all the figures in the sewer and shit like that. I had that stuff. But other things in and around that time, I didn't. It's like comics, right? A lot of kids were into comics. A lot of kids were into, Superman, and all the comics. I never got into it. It's why to this day, I've only seen 4 MCU movies. And why I'm not rushing out to watch them. Because I don't care. It's not that I think, it has nothing to do with me thinking I'm not going to like them. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with, I just don't care about the movie. There's a lot of movies you haven't seen, right? That you wouldn't go, well, I'm not saying I'm not going to like that movie. If I was to watch, I'd probably like it, but I don't care about it, so I just haven't seen it yet. Maybe I'll get to it. Maybe it'll be on TV and I'll happen to see it, or I'll sit down finally one day and watch it, but it's not there. I've only seen, I think it's 4 MCU movies I've seen. Or maybe not even, I've seen Iron Man. I've seen Iron Man 2. I've seen the first Avengers, and there's got to be one other one I've seen. There's one other one I've seen, and that's it. That's it. And that's not because I'm trying to be some sort of, it's not me saying that I'm better than the MCU. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying when I say I haven't seen them and I have no interest in seeing them. I'm not saying that I'm not. That's not me pulling a Scorsese saying I just don't think it's cinema. No, it's the same. It's the same reason that you haven't seen certain movies that you just haven't cared to watch yet. It's the exact same thing. But the reason why is because I think as a young boy, I never read comics. I never had any of the figures. I didn't watch, Justice League or those, cartoons. I just never got into it. I never got into it as a kid. But like I always say, there are certain staples that you recognize that you enjoy, like your Superman, your Spider-Man, your Batman. I'll always watch those movies because they're sort of staples. But all the other guys, like Vin Diesel had a movie come out this past year called Bloodshot, I think it's called, or something. And somebody was like, Dave, have you seen Bloodshot yet? And I'm like, I don't even know who the fuck Bloodshot is. I have never, ever in my entire life heard of a guy named Bloodshot, ever, until it was announced that Vin Diesel was doing a movie called Bloodshot. I have no idea who that is. No idea, So it's just one of those things, right? It's just one of those things. That's not me saying that I don't think that's good or movies or that they're not good movies. Listen, I understand movies, okay? If there's one thing I get, it's movies. And I understand that what the MCU has done is unprecedented. It's unbelievable what they've done. This 22 film arc that is emotional with highs and lows and has captivated a worldwide. I get it, man. I get it. And I have no doubt that if I was to sit and watch all 22 films, that I would become, on a certain level, emotionally invested and wanting to know what happened next. I'm not stupid. I mean, I know these are probably good movies. I'm just not into the genre. You know what I mean? So that's why it'll take me a lot longer than, it's like somebody who's like not into, you know, maybe they're just not really into psychological thrillers. But that doesn't mean if they didn't watch, but that doesn't mean if they watched, you know, Shutter Island, you know, that they would hate it. You know, I mean, they might hate it, but, you know, no, I'm just not into it. But they might watch and go, yeah, you know, that was pretty good, you know. So that's all it is for me. So yeah, there's a lot of movies that you guys talk about that I didn't never heard of. Like Jonathan Nichols here says, Bloodshot was a deep reach from Valiant Comics. Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, never heard of him. Aaron Click says, Dave, I pretty much avoid comic book superhero movies mainly because the CGI is so off-putting and over the top, it takes me out of the movies. You see, I respect that, but that's not why. Like, I'm not avoiding comic book movies. I just am not into the genre. It's like some people are not into horror movies, right? So they don't watch horror movies. It's the same thing. It doesn't mean that if they didn't watch one, they wouldn't enjoy it, you know, or they wouldn't recognize, like, I recognize quality filmmaking, whether that is, you know, a story that is cerebral and deep and layered with a bunch of symbolism, right? It's a deeper, more meaningful type of story, whether that is a quality film in a drama, you know, maybe something like a Forrest Gump or something like a Shawshank Redemption or a Green Mile, or, you know, maybe an older school film like a Sunset Boulevard or a Rear Window or a Whatever Happened to Baby Jane or All About Eve, or, you know, like something like that. Or if it's something like a superhero film, right? You have to put it within its context. You can't compare, you know, Iron Man to, you know, the Shawshank Redemption. They're two completely different genres, two completely different movies. But if you compare the superhero films within their own genre, you go, yes, this is a great example of what this genre is. This is the quintessential example of what a superhero, high-octane, special effect, extravaganza, massive adventure is. And there's no doubt that if I was to watch a movie, I'd be like, this is great. Like, this is, but you know, yeah, that's how I feel. Let me see here. I take a swig of my water. What do we got going on? How much time we got? No, we'll go another 15 minutes. We'll take it to 90 minutes today. Let me see if I missed any super chats. No, Frank did send in a super chat. Did I get it, Frank? Let me go back and scroll back and see if I got it. No, I didn't. Frank Riker sends a super chat, says, Dave, am I smelling your top 5 Robin Williams cooking in the stove? I think you mean on the stove. I think it's in the oven and on the stove. I know what you mean, buddy. That's a good one, Frank. That's a good one. Robin Williams is a good one, man. I might have to do it. I might have to do a Robin Williams one. Yeah, I may have to do one. I don't know how quickly I'll get to that one, but that's a good one. That's a good one to do. Yes, that is a good one to do. Jim Carrey. Ooh, that'd be a good one to do as well. Tout Dead 12 says Goonies or Gremlins? Goonies for me. But Gremlins is great. The Artisan says, notice how Myers was an average guy in H1 and H2 at like 5'11", but from H4 on, he became bigger, taller, and much more intimidating, aside from H2O and Resurrection, but the Thorn trilogy and even H18. Yep, that's true. Everything you said there is true. Although, he's even shorter than that. Nick Castle's 5'10", and Dick Warlock is 5'9". Dick Warlock is essentially my height. I'm 5'8". I'm not a tall guy. I'm not like tiny, but I'm not, you know, tall. So I'm just sort of kind of in the middle, I guess. 5'8", throw a pair of boots on me, I might get to 5'9". So that's essentially, I'm essentially Dick Warlock's height. But if you look at Halloween 2 from 1981 and you look at Dick Warlock, he has lifts on. He does. He's got like a heel on that shoe, and he might even have something inside those boots. I mean, his mechanic suit, the coveralls, the they're a little high up on his ankle, because I think he's high. He's taller than he actually is. Dick Warlock's not a tall guy, and he's not 5'9" now. There's no way he's 5'9" now. I don't think, anyway. Now, I didn't have a chance to meet him at the 40th anniversary convention in Pasadena. I saw him there. He had a table, but of course he was surrounded by people, and I was like, I don't want to sit here and wait. I got other things I want to do. So, but I did see him get up and walk from his table to another location, and he's older now. I mean, he's got to be well into his 70s at least, and he's a little. I don't mean he's like decrepit, but he looks like an old man. You know what I mean? And I don't think he looked, mind you, it was from a distance, but he looked shorter than me. So, or maybe if I got up close to him, I'd see maybe he was more around my height. I'd be shocked if he was still 5'9". But really nice man, though. Dick Warlock's an amazing guy. But you're right, though. And then as you got into the later, I mean, George P. Wilbur, who's the next guy to play him, I think was 6'2" or something like that, or 6'1" or something. And then, of course, everybody else, other than Chris Durand. I don't know how tall Chris Durand is, the guy who played him in H2O, but he looked more like what you would expect. He had more of a Castle Nick Warlock vibe to him. I didn't like Halloween H2O. I didn't like his portrayal of the Shape. I didn't like the mask in H2O. I thought each one was garbage. But I certainly liked the physique of Chris Durand. That I did like. And then, of course, we know what happened after that with Brad Laurie or Brad Laurie or Laurie. And then, of course, Tyler Mane and James Jude Courtney. Darren says Dave's boots bring him up to Kenny Baker. Almost to Kenny Baker. Almost. I mean, I'm not quite Kenny Baker. Kenny Baker, I'm not quite there, but almost to Kenny Baker. Almost. That's good. And then I'm going to put a little more on, and hopefully I'll get to Danny DeVito somewhere. Somewhere I'll get to Danny DeVito. I love how you just say it with it's like it's a statement. Like it's serious. It's just said. It's just like, yeah, that's it. What? Joking? I'm not joking. I love it. Jim Joe says Batman had the best villains with Spider-Man second and X-Man third. I'll take your word on it. I mean, the only Batman villains I know are sort of the pop culture ones. Like, the Joker, Penguin, Two-Face, I guess, in some ways, Scarecrow, and that's probably it. I think that's all I can think of off the top of my head. There's no doubt. There's Mr. Freeze, but I only the Riddler, and but I only know that from the Schumacher films, right? Like, I mean, and there's Bane, I guess, because of the Dark Knight Rises, but that's it. Like, I don't know of any other and I'm sure there's a lot more. Same with Spider-Man. Spider-Man, I can't even really think of off the top of my head other than the ones that are in the movies. And X-Men, I have no idea. Couldn't tell you. I did go see the very first X-Men in the theaters back in 2000. I remember watching that. In the theater. I've seen that in the theater. I watched the two Deadpool movies, so I know they're not part of the MCU per se. They're Marvel films, but they're not part of the MCU per se. But I like both Deadpool movies, but I really like Ryan Reynolds. I think he's fucking hilarious. And although he's just basically being Ryan Reynolds in most movies he does now, certainly he has a certain shtick and a certain style that works for him. And I did like the Deadpool movies. I thought they were funny. I like the first one better than the second one, but the second one, there were things to enjoy in there. There were definitely things to enjoy in there. Touty12 says, would you rather see Henry Cavill Superman or a completely new reboot with another actor? I thought Henry Cavill was a terrific Superman, but I thought Man of Steel, I didn't like Man of Steel as much as I was hoping to. It's just unfortunate that this is what I think of when I think of Henry Cavill and Superman. What a fucking wasted opportunity. What a fucking waste. That's what I think of. You have a dude who's jacked like Henry Cavill, who looks like Superman, who brings a sense of authority and nuanced, he's got some charisma, I totally believe him as Superman. I thought he was a great choice to play Superman. And they wasted it. They fumbled and dicked around and wasted it. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing with the DCEU. They wasted it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Man of Steel is the beginning of your DCEU. Okay, great. I thought it was average. I thought it was okay. I didn't, but fine. Okay, that's great. Then you should have done it should have gone Man of Steel. It should have gone Man of Steel 2. Then you do your Batman. Okay. And then you do your Wonder Woman. And then you do maybe a second Batman movie. You build to it. Justice League should not have come out until now. Now. I mean, maybe not quite now, but now. So there's 7 years of buildup. You got your Wonder Woman movies, and then you allow your audience to become emotionally attached to the characters. That when you get to Justice League, it feels earned. It doesn't feel shoehorned in. It feels like, oh my God, you've been waiting so long to see these titans together. The fuck is Justice League your third movie for? The hell is that? There was no buildup. Now, I know with the Avengers, it was similar in some of the roles, like Black Widow hadn't had her own movie yet. And I get that. But you had Iron Man, you had Iron Man 2, you had, I think you had Captain America already, you had a Hulk movie, you had, they just did it better. They did it better. It should never have gone Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman. Okay, if it was Christian Bale's Batman, if Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy was the beginning of the DCEU, of course you couldn't do that because Superman wouldn't live in that world, right? They're two different, it's a very, because the Nolan trilogy was a very grounded in reality. You know what I mean? It was very sort of real, gritty, and dark. It wasn't very comic book-y and sparkly. Not that Batman is, but I think you know what I'm talking about. But you take Superman and you put him in the Dark Knight world, it might seem kind of strange. But the only way that you do a Batman v Superman right after Man of Steel is if you do it with Bale. And I know that doesn't make sense to a lot of people. I get it. I understand it. But it would make sense to have that the next film because we're emotionally attached to. So now it's I don't give a fuck about Ben Affleck as Batman. I'm not saying he's not a good Batman. I'm not saying that you may not even like him as the best Batman. He was great as Batman. But we didn't know that going into the movie. So we didn't care about it. It was not I gotta see. No, I didn't care. It should never have been the next movie. Man of Steel 2, then you do your Batman, or simultaneously as you're doing your Man of Steel 2, you got Batman coming, you got Wonder Woman coming, you got Thor coming, and then it's around this time that we start to see Justice League. But Warner Brothers felt that they were desperately competing against Marvel. It's you're not competing. Now you fucked up. You fucked up because you spent so much time worrying about what they're doing that you forgot to focus on what you were doing, and be the antithesis to what Marvel is. Don't try to copy Marvel. Be the alternative to Marvel, and they just didn't do it. Oh, that's my opinion anyway. Frank Reicher says, Dave, would you say DC are tragic in their backgrounds and Marvel villains use their abilities to run the world in a campy sort of way? I have no idea. I mean, thinking about some of the because I don't know, man. You know more about superhero films than I do. So, I don't think I'm even qualified to answer that. But I will say that judging by what I do know about DC villains, a lot of them are tragic, but most of the villains that I think of when I think of DC villains are the Batman ones, like Joker, Two-Face, Scarecrow, Penguin, Bane. Yeah, they all have some sort of, issues, right? But a lot of villains do. So I would, but in terms of Marvel, in a campy sort of use villains that abilities to run the world in a campy sort of way, I that might be true. You'd have to throw that out to the chat room and see what they say about it. But you might be right. I mean, you may be Yeah, you may be right, man. You may be right. Super chat comes in from Mandy D. Mandy D says, "Hi, Dave. Love your channel and wanted to wish you an early happy birthday." Well, thank you so much, Mandy. Really appreciate that. Mine is on Tuesday. You can laugh since I'm older. There you go. Another May baby, man. There's a lot of May babies. I'm telling you. There's a lot of people born in the month of May. There's a lot of people born in the month of May. All right, we'll go for another 5 minutes here, another 5 minutes, and then we will call it a day here on this Friday. I would go back to this camera view, but I got no blue behind me. Well, I got a bit of blue behind me, but my light, for those of you that are just joining me, normally I have this nice blue light, which I began the show with, but the battery died. So now it's kind of like, it kind of looks plain now. I really like my blue accented lighting. So we'll go back to here where we can kind of see a bit more blue because this light is still kicking. Super chat comes in from Mr. No Name. Thank you, Mr. No Name. Says, I think you skipped over a super chat. Happy birthday to mine was the 8th. Another May. Another May. I'm telling you, we're everywhere. May babies unite, ladies and gentlemen. The Tauruses and the Geminis. That's right. I'm a Gemini. I'm actually not a Taurus because Gemini began yesterday. So I'm a Gemini. Did I miss a super chat? Let me go back and see. Super chat. You're right. Your super chat I missed, buddy. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. It says, can you believe Soldier and Blade Runner are supposed to be in the same universe as Aliens? Are they? Just found out. And Commando is a part of the Predator universe. Okay, is this like literally? I fucking hate that shit. I hate that shit. I hate that. No. Where did you hear this? Where's the evidence for it? Or is this just some nerdy dude speculating and drawing their own conclusions? Or is it coming from the creators themselves? Does Ridley Scott agree with this? Because Ridley Scott, of course, did the first Alien and Blade Runner. Does he agree with this? You might be right, man. I'm not saying you're wrong. I hate that kind of thing. I hate when people do that. I don't know. I just don't like, if you're going to have them in the same universe, then create a movie where they're in the same universe. Don't just say, hey, Predator and Commando are in the same universe. Oh, really? Yeah, fuck, and, Rocky and Southpaw with Jake Gyllenhaal, they're in the same fucking universe too. Yeah. Like, no, they're not. No, they're not. It bugs me so much. I'm not saying you bug me. I'm just saying that whole kind of like, do you know that Commando and Predator in the same, why? Because they're both Arnold films? How? How are they in the same universe? I think that's what you said, right? Commando is part of Predator universe. How? How is Commando part of the Predator universe when Arnold is in both playing two completely different characters? I hate that shit. Darren Sand says, apparently Pee Wee Herman was part of the X-Men. Oh, yeah. And Michael Myers he was an American Graffiti, at the diner serving tables. I just hate, dude, again, my disdain and anger is not directed at you, right? I want to be clear. I'm not shooting the messenger here. I just can't stand when people do that. And maybe you're right. Maybe one of the creators said, no, but fuck off with that shit. No, it's not. I hate that garbage. I hate when they do that because because somebody comes along and notices some sort of parallel in a movie, some sort of thing, or they're like, hey, did you know that, such and such movie was filmed in the same house as such and such? And did you know that the wallpaper is in the same in both movies? So therefore, they're in the same universe. It's like, no, they're not. Fuck off. Hate that shit. I hate it. For me, you gotta, okay, if they're part of the same universe, then let's get fucking Dutch from Commando or Dutch from Predator and get his character from Commando and get them in the same fucking movie. Let's do it. Let's have whatever the fuck was going on in Commando happening in Predator. I hate that shit. I hate that they made a Predator versus Alien. I hate it. I hate it. I hate when they do that kind of shit. blending universes is such a it should only be done if the original intention was there to do it. And I do not believe that most of the time the original intention is to do it. I think people just find parallels in these movies and create their own fucking mythology out of it. And I hate it. Yeah, Kindergarten Cop and Twins are in the same. Yes, they are. They are, exactly. And did you know, I'm telling you now, man, Godzilla's in the same universe as Jurassic Park. I'm just saying. It's like, no, stop that stuff. I don't like that stuff. Anyway, that's how I feel about it, Mr. No Name. I'm not coming down on you. You do say here, it's all good, bud. No hard feelings. I just thought it was interesting. Let me see. Did you follow up with the evidence, though? What's the evidence? Who said it? Where did you see it? Was it somebody that just was speculating? Or is there actual objective, quantifiable evidence? If it's just somebody's blog where they're like, hey, did you know, look at this, and they're drawing their own conclusions, that doesn't mean anything. Oh, Darren Sand says, I think it was a joke, Dave. Was it? Was it a joke? I don't know, man. If it was a joke, then I don't know. I'm telling you, it would. You see, this is why the joke might have gone over my head. Because that kind of shit does happen. And I have a pet peeve for people trying to create things like that. Fucking pisses me off. Art Vandalay says, Dave, did you know Kevin McAllister from Home Alone grew up in the Jigsaw? Yes, he did. Yes. Hey, there were people that thought that Home Alone and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles were in the same universe because they're both shot in Chicago, and the house is similar. But believe it or not, the house from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is actually not the same house from Home Alone. It only looks similar. Folks. Aaron Click says, it didn't seem like a joke, but maybe just got all riled, just to see you get all riled up. Oh yeah, people love to see me get all riled up. Come on! People love to see it. I can turn it on and turn it off on a dime, though. Yeah, no, I mean, but Darren's right. It may have been a joke. But it didn't, it seemed, and I guess because if the joke did go over my head, it was like, well, because shit like that does happen. So it's like, it's completely plausible. Dusty Rose says, are you and Tony watching I Know What You Did Last Summer anytime soon? I wouldn't say anytime soon, no. I wouldn't say anytime soon. But that is definitely something that we want to watch. Blu-ray Addict says, the AVP movies aren't the best, but do you like the idea of them? Nope. No, I don't like Alien versus Predator. I don't like it. I just don't like. I think you water down movies when you start cross-contaminating. I think it's cross-contamination. I really do. And I think you start to water things down when you say, hey, that movie exists in this world. It's like, no, it doesn't. Stop. That's how I feel. Excuse me. Where are we going here? Okay, I'll take a couple more here because I was going off on a tangent. We'll do 1 more minute. Last minute to play in the first period. Or in the third period, I should say. Jim Joe says the Candyverse with John Candy movies. Oh, yeah, the Candyverse. That's right. Sometimes it's fun. Like, I don't mind. It's fun. It's fun to do that from a fun point of view. Hey, did you know that? Because my girlfriend, and I do it all the time with Liam Neeson. We joke around how like he seems to be the same kind of guy. So like his character from Taken is the same guy in The Commuter, is the same guy in Run All Night, I think was that one film, is the same guy in A Walk Among the Tombstones, is the same guy in Nonstop, I think was the flight movie he did, he was on the plane. Obviously he's not. actually, but because he's playing a similar kind of guy, you know what I mean? We always joke that he's the same guy. He's actually the same guy in every movie, and this is just the shit that he goes through. Holy fuck. You know, he's saving his daughter from Paris, and then he's on a plane fucking taking down terrorists, and then he's, you know, walking amongst the tombstones, and then he's driving a snowplow in Cold Pursuit, and then we joke, like, it's fun to do that kind of thing from a fun point of view. But it just pisses me off, these people that try to actually say that these things are real. Like, fuck off, go home, you're drunk. Okay, RMJ Movie Review says, what do you think of Prometheus and Alien Covenant? I like them, actually. I don't mind them. I don't like them as much as Alien or Aliens, but I thought they were fine. I thought they were fine, right? You know, I thought they were entertaining. Yeah, I thought they were entertaining. Frank Riker sends a link. What's this? Dave, I think he's talking about this. Oh, a link. A link pops up. Oh, you guys are going to get me going. Forbes. Oh, here we go. Exploring Fox's secret $5 billion cinematic universe. Ah, okay. Okay. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay. I'll have to read that on my own. Okay. Okay. So it's all right. I'll read that on my own. DTUK says, the Uncle Buck character could have had some good stories beyond the original film, in my opinion. Yeah, maybe. I think his arc was complete, though, because it really was about bringing a troubled family together again, you know, and it's ironic because it's somebody who you least expect. You know, the dad, it's his brother, right? But the mother-in-law, like his wife doesn't like him at all. He's an out of work blowhard who can't keep, you know, a house together, can't hold a job, can't keep a relationship together, but he pulls off, he has something sweet and innocent and almost virtuous inside of him, you know, that is genuine. And he brings a troubled family together during a difficult time. I think that's the end of the story. I think to then, what are we going to see more movies where he's doing that? I think the novelty sort of wears off. I personally think it's a one-shot deal, and it's his own family, you know? So bringing the kids together with the mom, especially the teenage kid that's going through a lot, right? He did it, and it was the person you would least expect to do it. Like, there's no way that the mom in the movie would expect that this guy who she can't fucking stand is going to bring her family together, you know, and you know, it's a good story. So I think going on from that, you know, I think you would just be doing the same thing again and the stakes wouldn't be necessarily as high, you know. That's how I feel about it though. But yeah. Freshy Thrashy says, hey Dave, how you doing? Great stream. What are the worst cash grab trash you've seen other than Resurrection, of course? Ooh, you know what? That's actually a good question, man, that I might save for a main topic on McRae Live. I'll have to do a bit of research and kind of, you know, figure out what I think are cash grabs. I mean, every movie's a cash grab. It's all about making money. But I know what you're saying when you say that. You mean, they just half-ass on just fucking got that. I know what you mean by that. Yeah, no, I'll have to do a bit of research on that and figure that out and kind of see what I think might that be. All right, folks, listen, that is going to do it for me on episode 59 of McRae Live. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you're tuning in late to the show, go back and watch the beginning when it's done processing, and you'll get my top 5 favorite Kurt Russell movies with a couple of honorable mentions in there as well. Thanks to my moderators again, Frank Riker, Darren Sands, Tabitha Short, Jason Nike. You guys are awesome. Thanks to Darren and Frank for your wit and your humor. You guys are amazing. You guys always keep me laughing, man. You do. You guys are awesome. And thanks for keeping the chat, you know, moving in the ways that it should. I really do appreciate it. Hey, I may be back at some point over the weekend. Like I always say, there's always a possibility I might pop up with a standalone video. Reminder to my level 3 patrons, tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thorazine, our episode of Thorazine, talking some Halloween. Just a reminder to you guys about that. And then I will be back. If you don't see me over the weekend on the channel, I definitely will be back on Monday night, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time for episode, 71, I think? 71? I think it's 71 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Tony and I'll make an announcement either today or tomorrow, some point over the weekend. Tony and I are watching A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. The Dream Master. That is the one we're watching. One that not a lot of people talk about. Not a lot of people think that, discuss. So we're going to watch A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, this Monday night on Two Dudes and Some Bullshit, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you tune in to that. So that will be it for me. Like I said, you guys are amazing. Thank you to all the super chats as well, and keeping this channel and these shows going. All right, folks. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you guys soon. Cheers.